The solar system is an interesting topic as we all know. It consists of 9 planets circling the sun. The sun is in the middle while the planets travel in the same direction. But we didn't come to this conclusion right away. There was many theories with different theories. Before recorded history, there was about 5,000 years unrecorded. People noticed that the Nile River had floods and that the celestial bodies, such as the sun, reached a particular place in the sky. That's how seasons came to show. The Golden Age was from 600 BC to 150 AD. It was originated in Greece. They used basic math to figure out how large the figures were in the sky, such as the sun and the moon. The Greeks were the ones to first discover that Earth was a sphere shape and stayed motionless. They also discovered the celestial sphere, which is like the transparent cover around Earth, which is where the stars travel. Although the proof of Earth rotating wasn't a fact until 1851. The Ptolemaic system is an Earth-centered system of the universe. In AD 141, Claudius Ptolemy made a documentary about a Ptolemaic system. In the Ptolemaic system, all the planets orbited the Earth because they thought that Earth was motionless back then. However, they thought every other planet would stop and go in reverse in an eastward motion. The apparent westward drift is called the retrograde. Ptolemy showed that the planets orbited in small circles, revolving along large circles. All the observations and experiments Ptolemy made were from the wrong model. That is until Nicholas Copernicus came into the picture. Nicholas proved that the Earth is a planet and that it does rotate. He then made a model of the sun being at the center and all the planets orbiting around it. Later then came Tycho Brahe. He measured the location of where each of the heavenly bodies were located. He was skeptical about Nicholas's system as he stated, if Earth does revolve along an orbit around the sun, the position of a nearby star, when observed from extreme points in Earth's orbit 6 months apart, should shift with retrospect to the more distant stars. Stellar parallax is the apparent shift of the stars. Johannes Kepler proposed 2 laws of planetary motion. The first is the path of each planet around the sun is an ellipse, with the sun at one focus. The other focus is symmetrically located at the opposite end of the ellipse. The other theory was each planet revolves so that an imaginary line connecting it to the sun sweeps over the equal areas in equal intervals of time. And for his third law, he said that all distances to the sun are proportional. Later then, Galileo Galilei, which was one of the greatest Italian scientists who was the one to invent the telescope, he was the one that discovered that Jupiter had 4 moons, planets having circular disks rather than points of flight, Venus having phases just like the moon, and the moon's surface being rocky instead of the smooth like the ancients proclaimed, and finally the sun having sunspots. Finally, Sir Isaac Newton, who was believed to be the greatest genius to ever exist, he developed the laws of motion and proved that the force of gravity causes an elliptical orbits for planets. The solar system consists of all planets, the sun, the moon, asteroids, comets, meteors, and dwarf planets. Researchers made us believe that the Earth and all other planets were created at the same time that the sun was. The nebular hypothesis proposes that the bodies of our solar system evolved from an enormous rotating cloud called the solar nebula. The planets fall into 2 categories: the terrestrial, which is like the Earth-like planets such as Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, and then we have the Jovian planets, which are like Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. The most obvious difference is the size of the planets. Jovian can also be called outer planets, just like terrestrials can be called inner planets. The substances that make the planets are divided into 3 component groups based on their melting points: gases, rocks, and ices. The nebula hypothesis describes the formation of the solar system. The planets and the sun begin forming about 5 billion years ago from a large cloud of dust and gases called a nebula. The nebula cloud started forming and flattened out into the disk. Material that was pulled towards the center became the protosun. Terrestrial planets mostly contain rocky and metallic-like substances with minor amounts of ice. The Jovian planets contain lots of gases and ices. There's a big difference between terrestrial and Jovian planets. Terrestrial planets have limited atmosphere while the Jovian planets have very thick atmosphere. The reason for this is the location of the planets where they were formed. The outer planets, such as Jupiter, were created in a temperature where water vapors and other gases could turn into ice. The Earth's moon is unusually large compared to its parent planet. When Galileo first used his telescope to look at the moon, he saw dark lowlands and brighter high cratered highlands. The dark regions resembled the seas, so it was decided to name that Maria, like the sea, ocean. The lighter areas were named Tyre, which resembled the Earth's continents. Obviously, the moon contains craters on the surface. These craters were formed by the impact of rapidly moving meteoroids. The moon has no atmosphere of flowing water. Both the Miri and the Tyria were mantled with a layer of gray, unconsolidated debris from a few years ago. Mercury is the smallest planet and hardly larger than Earth's moon, and is smaller than three other moons in the solar system. Mercury takes 179 Earth days to completely rotate. Mercury has the greatest temperature of all planets, being the reason being it's closest to the sun. Venus is the brightest planet in the solar system. It takes 225 Earth days to completely rotate. Venus is similar to Earth in many ways, thus referring to it as Earth's twin. Venus was considered in being a place for living organisms until scientists discovered that temperatures can be as great as 480 Celsius. And Venus's atmosphere is 97% carbon dioxide. About 80% of Venus' surface consists of plains covered by volcanic flows. Mars is known as the red planet. The one thing that's interesting about Mars is that humans can actually access it without bursting into flames. Mars is approximately half the size of Earth and it revolves around the sun in about 687 Earth days. There's sandstorms and extreme winds, numerous inactive volcanoes also. Jupiter is the largest planet if it would have grown 10 times larger if it could have evolved into a star. Jupiter revolves around the sun quicker than most planets, every 12 Earth days to be specific. Jupiter's atmosphere is composed of mainly hydrogen and helium. When you view Jupiter through a telescope, you notice some red spots. That's called the Great Red Spot. It has been a prominent feature since it was first seen about 3 centuries ago. The Great Red Spot is a counterclockwise rotating storm caught between two jet stream-like bands as flowing in opposite directions, kind of like a huge hurricane. Jupiter has 63 moons discovered. Jupiter with its moons is like a whole other solar system. Saturn is best known for its rings. Saturn's atmosphere is very much alike to Jupiter's. Winds roaring at 1500 kilometers and having storms similar to Jupiter's great red spots. Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune also have ring systems, but what differs Saturn from the rest of the planets is the huge rings that are very noticeable. The rings are composed of ice and rock. Uranus and Neptune are close to twins. They're both blue and about the same size. Uranus rotates on its side. That's what makes it unique. Neptune has a white circus-like cloud above its main cloud deck, just like Jupiter has a great dark spot. Asteroids are small fragments. They're leftovers from about 4.5 billion years ago from the formation of the solar system. Most asteroids stay around Mars and Jupiter by the asteroid belt. Researchers agree today that asteroids are leftover debris from the solar nebula, which is what caused the formation of the planets. Comets are like asteroids also left from the formation of the planets. Comets are made out of ice, such as water, methane, carbon dioxide, etc. Comets are found in the outer solar system, in a region called Kuiper Belt. Comets move in a circular motion that lies about the same plane as the planets. Those comets come from an aspherical shell around the solar system called the Oort cloud. Millions of comets orbit the sun. Meteoroids are a fancy word for saying shooting star. Everyone has seen one of those. Meteoroids. Meteoroids are small solid particles that travel through inner planet space and become meteors when they enter Earth's atmosphere. Meteor showers occur when Earth encounters a swarm of meteoroids, probably material lost by a comet. Meteorites are the remains of meteoroids from the Earth. Pluto is now considered a dwarf planet. Researchers have been skeptical about this planet size, but when better images were obtained, they noticed that Pluto was a little less than half of the Earth. Astronomers then discovered many small objects similar to the asteroid belt. However, these are made up of dust and ice. These were all placed in a category called dwarf planets.